Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I just had a really interesting conversation with the CEO of a really beautiful company, and we were talking about. I wasn't planning to do a live. I wasn't planning to do a session today, but I feel like we need to do this session. I feel like we need to have this conversation. So the CEO and I were talking about what's happening in his company, and we were talking about how there's not a lot of space to often tell the truth about what's happening in people's companies. So as he was talking about what's happening, they're not on track with their targets. They're having a hard time with a couple different cultural initiatives, revenues, like all these different things. As he was sharing back what was happening in their organization, what I realized was this is a similar conversation I'm hearing when we're talking to other companies. But the other companies aren't necessarily talking about this internally with their teams. It's usually the CEO or the executives that are trying to figure this out, and they're trying to keep a really positive outlook and a positive face on for their teams. And so therefore they're carrying this extra energy and they're carrying this extra weight of, just focusing on the positive, focusing on what's working, and really not talking honestly about what's happening. And this individual and I were talking about, the power of getting together with other leaders who are in the trenches as CEOs, as senior leaders, really responsible for revenue and sales and culture and all the things that make a company work. And the power of actually having an honest conversation and sharing, like, actually, it's not going great right now. Actually, we're having a hard time with this. Actually, we really need some help here. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing. I was in a room personally a couple of weeks ago with a bunch of my own peers, and we spent, I would say, a good part of the first day together just telling the truth about how things are going, what we're struggling with, what we need help on. And it was really powerful because just that space to tell the truth opens up so much more freedom and energy to actually get to solving the issues. So I would want to just offer today, if you're going through your life right now and you're thinking that everyone else has got it figured out and companies are doing great and other CEOs know what they're doing and they're hitting their goals and whatnot, in my experience, that is not necessarily true at all. And that messaging where we don't have the honest conversations about, hey, I'm actually struggling. I actually need some help. I'm actually having a hard time with this. Actually, we're not at our projections. When we don't give full permission to say, hey, we're actually 40% down this year, or whatever it might be, when we don't give full permission to have that honest conversation, we can't actually get through to being a positive energy workplace. So this is one of the bit of the conversation that this gentleman and I were having this morning, because we're looking at this event that's happening in September. We're doing a 2-day immersion in Ann Arbor, and we've kept it private invitation up until this week. We're going to start opening it up to more public enrollment. So if that's of interest to you, then we'll make sure we put a link, and we'll put a link to it with this video. But, one of the things we were talking about was the Positive Energy Workplace Initiative. It is about creating authentically positive energy workplaces. And here's the challenge. That's not about just being woo-woo and everything's great and, oh my God, there's so much positive energy. It's actually part of the initiative is in being able to foster the conversations that are honest, like the one that I just had with this person and these people a couple weeks ago. And pretty much any room I go into, as much as they'll let me have an honest conversation with them, fostering creating a space for an honest conversation to talk about what you're struggling about as a team, creating a space for honest conversation to talk about your grief around layoffs that you might be going through, or conflict in the organization, or whatever it might be. You got to create the space for that. Because to try and be a positive energy workplace without authenticity for what's actually happening, it doesn't work. It's fake. It's totally fake. In fact, that's a huge part of the reason why we have the initiative happening, is because if I'm super honest, I got really frustrated with all the forced toxic positivity that we see in organizations. It's incredible to me, and it's exhausting. So I just want to offer today, if you're thinking that you're in it alone with your organization, I get to talk to business leaders every single day. and they're amazing. They're amazing people and they're amazing companies. Almost everyone I know right now is going through something where it's either they've just had to lay people off, or they're not hitting their numbers yet, or they're having a hard time with culture, or they're having a hard time with their product, or whatever. Nobody is immune to this. The only way we get through this is to have the honest conversations about what's actually happening. There's a saying in writing, which is you write when you're bleeding, you publish when you're healed. And I get that. I get what that means for writing a book. I get that. Like, you don't want to just vomit all your stuff on the page. Same thing with creating, a keynote. You write the core content when you're going through something hard, and then once you're kind of through it, you can look back and have some perspective. You publish, you speak it when you're healed or when you figured it out. I think it's different for business. You can't do that. You can't do that in business. You can't do that where relationships are involved. You can't do that where you are part of a leadership team that needs to figure out, what are we going to do next? How are we going to shift this? The energy is really rough here. Like, it's not like it used to be. We can't do, like, it doesn't work. The way that things worked a couple of years ago, it doesn't work anymore that way. So if you're trying to hold it all together and pretend like everything's fine, and you're putting it out there that everything's fine, I just want to give you permission to at least get together with some of your fellow leaders, CEOs, your team, whoever, to get together and to start having honest conversations around, like, no, everything's not fine right now. Like, this is actually really hard, because only through this is hard and this is what's actually happening, and here's the truth about what's happening for right now, only through that do you actually get to the next stage of growth, which then you actually get to solve the challenges. You get to create new things to make it better. And you've got a better chance of becoming an authentically positive energy workplace, being an authentically positive energy leader. So full permission. Don't go it alone. In September 14th and 15th, this is the first time I'm saying this out loud publicly, but in September 14th and 15th, we're going to be doing a special session in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's one of our favorite places to run our events. It is a smaller session. It's more intimate for senior leaders and executives of organizations who really want to give themselves 2 days to dive into their presence, their leadership, their intentions for how they want to show up, their intentions for the culture they're creating. It's a very, very beautiful session. It's similar to what we've run in the past. However, it is significantly up-leveled because of the kinds of conversations we're going to be having in 2003 versus the conversations we were having back in 2019, the last time we did one of these live. We're also asking, it's got to be, we do want these to be people in leadership positions coming to this for this particular one, so that you have a very safe space to have very honest conversations about what's happening in your organization. We feed you beautifully. The content is phenomenal. And what you get walking out of it is you have a different way of relating to your leadership and a way of showing up that is going to be more compelling and useful to the people that you're leading in your organization. So if that's of interest to you, I'm going to invite you to check out the page that we'll put on this we'll put a link here somewhere. My team will take care of it for us. But if that's of interest, go ahead and get registered. We have early bird registration happening through August 3rd. And then it goes up a little bit, not too significantly. If you bring 2 or more people, we'll give you a team discount, because we want to have more people in the room with their team members. Because what we find is if you can get 2 people doing this work, it can start to have a ripple effect inside the organization more easily than just one person. Though, if just one person comes, same idea. You're going to have the tools for yourself, and then that's going to influence your team. So take a look, get signed up. Spaces are limited. Right now, we still have plenty of room. So we are looking at this one as potentially the last time we open this up publicly, just because we normally do these privately for organizations. But we did want to give people an opportunity to get in and have a safe space to have some honest conversations. So we're going to be doing content. We're going to be having real conversations. You're going to get to be in rooms with other executives, other senior leaders, having real conversations about what's happening in your organization. Then you're going to get to learn tools and frameworks and ways of thinking about some of this that are going to help you lead more effectively when you go back. And at a minimum, you get 2 days to work on yourself, which is gorgeous. So don't do this alone. If you think you don't have time for this and you're feeling like you've got too much stuff going on, that's probably a good sign that you don't have time not to take 2 days to work on yourself. Just saying. And I'm going to leave it there for now. But yeah, I want to thank the individual I had the conversation with this morning, because it really was just such a validation of how much we need to be having these conversations together. Because every time I turn around, I feel like I'm having a conversation where someone's saying, well, I'm holding it together for my team because this, and this, but this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. We don't make change unless we start having real conversations. So let's at least get into a room and have some real conversations as leaders. And then you can decide how much of a conversation you want to have when you go back to your company. Okay, take care. Hope to see you soon. And I hope you sign up.